Well, pull up a tree stump and get out your jug of moonshine. We're in for a wildly tall tale when Simon Pure arrives in Ohio for his annual get-together with Johnny Appleseed. This time they're on the hunt for an arsonist. It's all right here in our review of Redcoat number 9 from Image Comics. See you in 3. I don't know why I did that opener in a hillbilly accent. It just felt right. Well, welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Redcoat number 9. But before we dig in, how about a quick recap? When last we left Simon Pure in Redcoat number 8, the immortal from the Revolutionary era stopped at a lonely farmhouse for food and shelter. Unfortunately, Simon just so happened to pick the house of the infamous family of murderers who prey on wayward travelers, the Bloody Benders. Thankfully for Simon, the Bloody Benders were surprised to meet a victim who doesn't quite go down after being killed the first time. And that brings us to the current issue. In Redcoat number 9, we begin with Simon Pure running through a forest, chasing a gigantic beast that looks a lot like a worm. With him is a kind-eyed man in bare feet and a dented pot for a hat, Johnny Appleseed. After a brief preamble, Simon narrates the history of his many-year friendship with the famous planter of apple trees. As Simon and Johnny run through the forest, he explains that he first met Johnny Appleseed in 1798 during a strangely fun adventure in Ohio. Every year since, Simon and Johnny meet on the same day to catch up, swap stories about their recent adventures, and get more than a little drunk on Johnny's special mix of apple cider that he keeps in a jug made of moonstone. During their latest meeting in the year 1816, Johnny arrives late, which is unusual for him, to meet Simon in western Ohio near the town of Friendship. Johnny points out that the small settlement town of farmers were harassed by a greedy landowner who decided to burn the town down after their deal went bad. Simon half-heartedly helped the townsfolk clean up by sweeping, shoveling ash out of the way, and doing all kinds of things to help the starving poor people. But he felt demoralized by witnessing Johnny's simple, open kindness in giving the townsfolk all the help he could. In other words, Simon was half-heartedly helping folks, but not doing too much. Johnny was digging into it whole hog, literally in some cases, and Simon just kind of felt like he wasn't living up to Johnny's shining example. Later that night, Simon and Johnny talk over their annual drinking session. Johnny detects Simon is disturbed by the day's events, and Simon explains that the only way he knows how to help really is through bloodshed. Johnny refuses to help Simon find and kill the arsonist, but after a few more sips of liquid courage, the two agree to track down and apprehend the arsonist. As Simon would put it, we're going to scare the britches off of him. When Johnny and Simon's drunken tracking leads them in circles in the night in the middle of the dark forest, Johnny proposes borrowing a little bit of Simon's magic to enchant an apple to make it roll in the direction of their prey. Simon drunkenly quarrels with Johnny about his obsession with apples, prompting Johnny to quarrel right back. Their quarrel warped the magic spell Johnny had begun on a small apple, causing the apple and the worm inside it to grow to the size of an office building. The issue ended with Simon bucking the world's weirdest bronco, and the two figures teaming up to kill two birds with one really big apple. Alright, that's the issue, so let's talk about impressions, what worked, what didn't, what have you. I would say you could sum up Redcoat number 9 in a single word: amusing. Geoff Johns' fantasy story fits perfectly within the realm of short stories made famous by writers such as Washington Irving, who is most known to folks for tales about Rip Van Winkle and the Headless Horseman and what have you. There's a spirit of non-threatening danger that keeps you engaged by relying on the outlandish developments of the story and the atmosphere to carry you through this one-and-done tale. It's a lot of fun, it's really wild and really tall, but it's so entertaining that you don't care one way or the other how dangerous or not it really turns out to be. Let's switch gears and talk about the art for a second. We've got Brian Hitch and Andrew Curry and the rest of the art team doing their level best to uphold Ghost Machine's reputation as the imprint with the most gorgeous comics you can find on your direct market shelves today. Hitch's detailed line work is near miraculous. I mean, it just looks fantastic, which is a must to keep readers engrossed in the alternate history world Geoff Johns has created here. I mean, you have to believe in the magic, you have to believe in the whimsy, and if the art takes you out of it, you break the suspension of disbelief. The world and everyone in it looks amazing. Okay, so let's switch over to positives and negatives, starting with what's great about Redcoat number 9. In the classic sense of the phrase, Redcoat number 9 is a fantasy fable. Geoff Johns crafts a short story brimming with history, a sense of adventure, plenty of whimsy, and definitely an undercurrent of magic to thoroughly captivate readers with a yarn about a fascinating period in Simon Pure's immortal life. This issue is a one-and-done story, but the tale is so fun that you could easily see one or more tales of adventure in the future, starring Simon Pure and Johnny Appleseed as a sort of a buddy cop adventure kind of pairing. So the issue is good. Let's talk about what could be better. The issue suffers from a couple of rough spots. First, Simon's narration in the first section regarding his history as Johnny Appleseed's friend drags a little bit. It's interesting information in the grand scheme, but the narration comes a little too close to becoming a wall of text, so you're going to feel a little bit of unevenness in the pace. Second, the resolution concerning the giant apple skips a beat when Geoff Johns sort of forgets to explain how Pure and Appleseed were able to move it. These are not big deal, these are minor areas for improvement, but if they could be addressed in the next issue or just, addressed in the future for similar stories, that would be great. Let's take a step back and look at the big picture. Redcoat number 10 promises to show the legendary first meeting between Simon Pure and Annie Oakley in another one-and-done issue. It's not clear if this series of introductions of legendary characters to Simon's Pure mythology is a signal, maybe it's an early signal of some kind of team-up in the future. But for now, Geoff Johns is simply having fun with exploring history. And for right now, that's good enough. Final thoughts, what do we think about Redcoat number 9? It's a thoroughly entertaining one-and-done story that reads like a classic tall tale about Simon Pure on an adventure with Johnny Appleseed. Geoff Johns' spirit of whimsy, magic, and wholesome adventure is, I don't like this word for whatever reason, but in this case, it's the best word that fits. It's a delight. And the art team's visuals are the best of the best in today's market. I mean, you're not going to find any imprint that's doing better art than Ghost Machine. Therefore, Redcoat number 9 earns a 9 out of 10. The whole point of a comic is to be entertaining. It's supposed to be fun. In every way that you can possibly imagine, this issue is fun. But what do you think? Of all the Ghost Machine titles that are going on right now, some are on hiatus, some are currently on the shelves, which is your favorite? If I had to guess, I would say most people will say Rook Exodus, but I want to hear your opinion. Leave a comment below. Also, leave a thumbs up if you found this review helpful, and drop a comment below with which Ghost Machine title you're anxious to see come back from hiatus next. Again, I think it's going to be Rook Exodus, but I want to hear your opinion about that as well. Also, remember to click on the link in the description to read the written review, check out the variant covers and preview pages, and buy this comic to help support the channel. Your support, of course, is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below if you're watching this on YouTube. So thank you very much for joining, and stay tuned through the outro for more reviews just like this one.